So I'm Hans from Tallinn University of Technology. My supervisors are Ergo, Pikas, and Martin Thalfeldt. The title is pretty abstract in a way. It doesn't have any domain-specific wording. That is intentionally so. So let me actually give a bit of background. I was an energy certificate expert for buildings before. Some of you might know EPBD and the ISO 5200 standards. They're pretty comprehensive. Actually, this continues a bit in a similar manner, like the base is the same as the previous presentation. It's like the regulations are super complex and prescriptive, and the whole process was very painful. And then I was trying to find a way to make it less painful via some sort of digitalization and curating some of the stuff on just curating it in timely manner. And that was actually more tough than I expected. And I had to go up quite a few abstraction layers. So there's quite a lot of iterations. And then at some point I was asking myself, what am I actually doing? Am I solving an AEC problem, or is it just some abstraction problem? And it's the latter. So bear with me, it is very abstract. We're going to come down. Let's skip that. One of the main grounding principles for this work is that regulation intervenes in a process. So the process, as I said, can be abstract, could be energy certification, building permitting, planning, or auditing. And I'm distinguishing between the private part of the process and the governance. There's different ways of going about the enforcement. So the first one, which is our most well-known, is inspection of evidence, or what Paul and Casanovas called as compliance by detection. In this case, we're just inspecting the evidence. This is true in the physical world and as well as digital world. It's like a post hoc method. In this case, the process authority and the data authority are both private. The opposite of it, which typically manifests as government software, is you just use it, you're pre-compliant, and that works, called compliance by design. So the governance part absorbs both the process and the data authority. Now, another take on it, a bit more comprehensive, broad, is compliance through design, where the governance bodies, they declare the intervention, and they frame the implementation. So it's like a prescriptive approach, where the data authority remains still within the private parties. And that's the kind of mindset that we're going forwards with. Just a quick note, existing attempts of digitalizing regulatory workflows, there's been great progress, and the abstraction level is getting higher and higher, which is, in my opinion, great. There is still a bit of a lock-in or confusion between what public governance needs and that we're actually mostly applying a software ecosystem or a company's mindset. It's different in a way that public governance has many stakeholders, parties, there's negotiability, participation. That was also spoken of yesterday in the governance panel pretty thoroughly, if anyone was there. Yeah, there's no central ownership of data in public governance. It doesn't quite converge in that way that we can build sophisticated systems that would stand the test of time. So it requires a bit of a questioning more. In the construction sector, yeah, as I said, I've seen approaches, there are process modeling like BPMN, automated rule checking, ontologies, and topped with centralized governance platforms. And that is great progress, and that is actually the essential part. I'm not saying any of this should not exist, they should all exist. But it's pretty tough to put some of the regulatory clauses are very, very tough. There's one example from EPBD and one from the Estonian EPC methodology. They cut across different disciplines, they have sophisticated logic, they're very prescriptive, and they also cut across project stages, and they're very intertwined within the regulation. So, and reading this again and again as an energy efficiency expert is very painful. The main concept, ontologist, if any of you might be familiar, is reification. We're taking something abstract and making it a concrete thing. So that is the underlying mentality of this work. And the cost of getting these boundaries wrong is, the yellow highlight here, is restatement plus realignment. this is familiar, like we're inputting some values again and again, and then we have to match between the systems and sort out the kind of a mess. So I ended up with super abstract stuff. Sorry about it. Bear with me. Entities, activities, and workflows. Entity is a governed atomic unit of data. Could be building usage type, some efficiencies, could be a PDF, could be a BIM model, right? I'm not going to specify that. The only scoping mechanism for this is it should be an entity when no smaller data unit is explicitly governed. Governed means it has applicability or data restriction or production method choice or agent attribution, as well as produced fact-governed reuse. Any of these might trigger it. An activity is a step that can produce an entity. Activity can be both physical and digital, like some upload, fetching something from the database. And all these come together in a workflow, what I call, is a governed package of fact production work, which manifests as a declarative graph, workflow graph declarative, so it's not like BPMN, it puts itself together based on data dependencies. Yeah, so this is the fact production work unit, workflow. Here I'm going to brush over this. Maybe the important part to see is the workflow model with the head icon. That is the authoring artifact part. Like if you question like, how do we declare the stuff? So we declare it within the first box. Everything else is machine work that speaks no domain terminology. Decomposition of a workflow model. So workflow model is the declarative artifact of how some process should be done, centralized with the data entities and activities mostly. Not going to dig into this too much either, but there's different layers of semantics, starting with the P-plan and Provo ontologies with the activities and entities. Small control layer on top of that, and then we're getting into the design and specialization vocabulary and getting more domain specific, and then the final layer is like instantiation and making it operational. So still, I believe it doesn't quite add up, so here's another way to ground it with the EPBD, with the Energy Performance Certificate implementation in Estonia, the calculation methodology. The good news is actually we came all the way from the clouds pretty well down to the ground. The abstraction worked, so we ended up with the system. Well, maybe the picture is a generated UI, so we don't really work with UI-centric stuff. It's just procedurally generated from whatever the API presents as structured events, so it's like an interaction surface. It serves what is available, what should be done, with all the semantics, with the API messages. So basically it is literally holding your hand through the process. It's not trying to do more and not trying to do less. It gives you all the options and gives you feedback right away. So in this case, like there is still the part of even like override and negotiability if something goes wrong. Okay, and timer done.
Don't worry.
Yeah. And what it does, it keeps the state of the system, of the graph. As I said, the graph of workflow is a unit of fact production. And if it still doesn't make sense, this thing that I was talking about, this workflow thing, is a part of a bigger system. So this part in focus is the governed fact production part, and the thing in blurry part is fact life cycle management. So that is the other side of the coin. So that's what I'm working on now. Okay, thank you.
You have time.
9 minutes. Okay. Yeah, I would say that's it.
Okay, thank you.